host, Sami Kinnison, here with Angela Belford. And today we are joined by a very special guest, Lauren Roussell. Lauren, thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm so excited to get to talk with you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, we are going to be talking more about family business. We are meeting with different family business leaders, getting more perspective, because I know you guys don't just want to hear from Angela and I about our family business all of the time. And so we wanted to chat more with other people about some of the highs and lows and the different interesting challenges of being in family business. So, Lauren, would you mind just taking a moment and introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your journey and your business?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Sammy. So I am the owner and president of Precision Event Group. It is an event company that focuses on not only events for corporations, weddings, parties, any type of event you can imagine, but also really assisting nonprofits that are both locally based and nationally based. With my background, I was the development manager for JDRF, which is now Breakthrough T1D. And then COVID hit, and I was the director of development for the American Diabetes Association and the Kiss a Pig Gala here in Northwest Arkansas. So anyone from the area pretty familiar with Kiss a Pig. It's a really, really big event, raises millions of dollars for research. But I've always had a very big heart for nonprofit, and I've always been in development. So, that's kind of where my background has come from. And in my time, and I say I've retired from development because I have truly retired from development, 14 years of doing it, it kind of starts to become very hard and challenging, extraordinarily rewarding, obviously, but it just becomes a lot, especially when you're a wife and a mom, and trying to have that really good work-life balance. And that was something that I really always struggled with. And I know it kind of seems like going from the frying pan into the fryer when you're starting your own company and your own business, but kind of more of that a little bit later, I guess. But I had my husband and I, EJ, he does multiple jobs, which is great. So he is in finance. He has also graduated from seminary with his master's of divinity from Southern Seminary. So we both felt at a very early on, whenever we found out that I was pregnant with our daughter, Everly, who is 13 months old now and is just a sweet, sweet joy. And I'm so thankful to be her mom. That I could not keep going in not the 8 to 5 that I was doing with, putting on this multi-million dollar event. It wasn't just me. It was a great team, an incredible group of volunteers. But there was just so much pressure that I had to continue to hit each day. And whenever I was sitting in the hospital after giving birth to Everly and out on my maternity leave, we both knew and both had impressed on our hearts that, okay, I need to stay home with her. I always wanted to be a mom, but as most of us know, a lot of us moms, you see so many things on Instagram, you see so many things on social that, okay, side hustle for stay-at-home moms, side hustle, side hustle, side hustle. That is great, but it takes so much time and effort to do that. And unfortunately, in the economy that we're in, most households have to have two working parents. So that's when we both had laid on our heart that I need to be a stay-at-home mom with her. It was just amazing how the Lord put that on both of our hearts at the same time. But also doing something that I had a passion for. And my husband, EJ, really was so encouraging for me to be able to stay home with her and to start this company that I did have a lot of experience. So, 14 years in the industry of not only development and nonprofit, but then also with event planning. It takes so much work, so many details that most people don't normally think of, that we can deliver at an expert level, not only for corporations, but also for nonprofits. So that's kind of what started. And we opened in December of last year, so not even a year yet, and just kind of growing and really excited. But it definitely came with a lot of really exciting things, a lot of scary things, challenges, successes. You're faced with something new each day that you really can't plan for. And I say it so funny. I'm like, I'm in the business of planning. There's so much you can't plan for, and you have to go with the punches each day. So
Yeah. I was a 2016 Kiss a Pig candidate. Woo!
you were. Look
Yeah.
at that. I didn't.
I'm
Okay, so that was before my time. Okay,
yeah.
so
Mhm.
That is
I
awesome.
it is a harrowing event. I will just tell you, I was overwhelmed a lot of the time. I
Oh
was doing a
gosh,
lot
yeah.
of processing.
Oh,
I got this call. It was so funny. My friend Miranda Viney calls me one day and was like, "Hi, you don't know me. You're friends with my sister, and I've been watching you for a few years, and I'd like to nominate you for Kiss Pig." And I'm like, "Miranda, this is just weird. What is happening right now?" Anyway, and she
that
is
is
a
funny.
darling, sweet, sweet friend, and she helped me as my campaign
Oh,
manager. Anyway, and
I love
so
that. So you
I
totally get it.
I now
Get
have
it.
positive vibes about it, but I will tell you it was some of the most debilitating panic attacks because like the
Love
year that I won, or I mean the year I participated, I did not win. I did not win even close. I was like, I'm pretty sure I was the lowest one. And John Williams, who's a local radio
it. Yep.
show host,
John is
I
one of
love
my dear
him.
friends.
He
Yeah.
said the person who did the lowest, and they didn't announce, it was very sweet. The person who did the lowest actually did better than the winner the year I did it. That's how like intense it started getting. I mean, it's
Yeah,
crazy. It's amazing. It's a great cause. And
it is.
we have a dear uncle that had lots of complications from diabetes, so it was close to my heart to do it for Uncle Bob. But anyway,
Yeah.
holy cow! Sorry.
So
Side
funny. No,
note.
so I mean,
Yeah,
absolutely getting
so
that. You can
intense.
imagine what it was like in
Oh, I know.
2022.
Yeah, no,
And I mean, we broke records. It was really great, but
yeah,
that stress and that pressure, and I'm such a perfectionist. It's great for our line of work and, working
yeah.
with DJ. We're very different though. So that's what's really, that's what's really fun and how we manage and do things.
Ooh, so talk more about that. Yeah, no, but I want to talk more about that being different from your husband because Angela, I know you and your husband are also very different in business. Would love to hear from both of you just a little bit of give us some flavor to the differences.
Yeah. So my personality is very strong. I think whenever EJ and I were not even dating, we played this game. I think it's fun. I think everyone should play it at one point in their life with their family, friends. It's called the voting game. And you basically, everyone's assigned a number, and then you get these little prompt cards. And I'll never forget, this was before EJ and I started dating. It was who is most likely to intimidate the opposite sex. And every single person that was in the group, and there we were playing with like 15 of us, including my husband, including my now husband, who we were not even dating, we were just friends, said that I was most intimidating. So I think my personality is very strong, go getter, big, like I don't procrastinate, and EJ doesn't procrastinate, but we have different viewpoints on if we have a client that hires us and it's a year out. For me, I like to get everything done pretty quickly after the hire and then can rest and handle problems and troubleshoot. With EJ, he's very thoughtful, very methodical, very processed, and it cracks me up. And like even as far as like communication standards, so I can send 20 different text messages to 20 different people and have 20 different things going all at one time, and I can type out books in a text or stuff to a client or anything along those lines, and I can do it quickly. And I always joke with EJ, and I'm like, how long does it take you to send that text message? And he'll like backspace it and go forward and go backwards. So communication styles, that's our biggest difference that we really run into that's so funny. It drives him nuts how I'm just like go 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 go, and I won't stop. And it drives me nuts with him how he's very thoughtful and methodical. It's like, no, what about this, this, and this? But it's great because it balances each other so perfectly. So it's a strength and a weakness that we're trying to navigate to where we recognize the differences between each other, strengths and weaknesses, but then also can spur each other on, if that makes sense. But I don't know, Angela,
It
how
does.
you feel like working with your husband, but
Differences between my husband and I. I was trying to think of a similarity. I Here's the thing that I'm also very fast paced, very like can think. I'm always thinking like 17 steps ahead. He teases me a lot and says, especially in business, I play chess 3 dimensionally, and most people are playing checkers.
And he's like, I'm trying to keep up with checkers over in here, and you got three-dimensional chess going on. And so in the business consulting I do, he tries to remind me what it feels like for other people, which is very sweet. Um, I, I, we had a podcast a few months ago where we had Mark Zweig on, and one of the things we had him on for because he wrote an article that said it's a myth that entrepreneurs are um, pro risk, that are very risk takers, are positive risk takers. I mean, like are aggressive risk takers, and real entrepreneurs mitigate risk. And so
Mm, yeah.
I would not say I'm risk averse. I am unmitigated risk averse, but it looks like I'm willing to just take crazy risks. And so my husband is like, slam on the brakes. No, do you know what you're doing? Right. And I'm like, okay, but I've already thought through. I mean, like, for instance, with our internship program, it's like, okay, if you pay X number of dollars, so let's say it's $15 an hour for an intern, and they work 10 hours a week. That cost me $150. And so he's like, well, they have to generate 15 hours of billing a week. Well, that's dumb. No, they don't. If
Mm,
depending on what we bill, that what their billing rate is, like if they can contribute 2 or 3 hours a month, then we break even, right? Or 2 or 3 hours a week. And I'm like, out of 15 hours, surely they can generate 2 or 3 hours. So this is not risky to me because
mm.
we're covering that. And he just is like, and I'm like, stop it. Everybody that's been on the he's been on the podcast, so he's been able to come and defend himself, and everybody knows
I
they
love
feel sorry for him. And I'm like, you know what? He picked the tiger by the tail. We are very, very different. We have worked through a lot of challenges.
it. Mm,
It's pretty common knowledge that I've gone and run other companies for a year or two at a time, and then come back, and then I get things reoriented, and I update processes, and then I go and I run somebody else's company for a couple of years, and then I come back and I update processes. I wish my sweet, slow, methodical husband was as process minded as I am. I am actually
mm.
weirdly way more process minded. I think he's an artist. He won't admit it because he's a programmer,
Ah,
but now you see, I do not work in the office that he works in. Sami works in the office that he works in. And it's cool to watch him like figure out though, when he and Sami have conflicts,
mm,
that he's like, oh wait, I remember this with Angela, and you can see the growth because he's
mm,
like, oh, I don't want to make the same mistakes again. So he really is in a cool position to be able to correct some of those early mistakes that we made from a communication, from a conflict. And
mm.
also, she's daddy's little girl, so he's not going to be nearly as mean to her as he is to me. And I don't mean he was mean. We have also determined that he is the way he is when I trigger his fear response. So when I
Ah,
want to grow the
that's really
business in
wise.
a direction, and it triggers his fear response, because he is wildly supportive of my speaking and my author and anything that I'm doing that does not involve his risk tolerance being
Yes.
touched.
It
Anyway,
seems
so
like you and I are like the same person, and it seems like our husbands are the same person. Like EJ's an artist too, but he plays guitar and he like does it all
yeah.
in here. Like if you could see the
But and
rest
he's finance, and
I
he
was
does
like, and yet
finance,
in
in
right? Yeah.
finance.
finance and
Right.
also in ministry. So it's
Right. And my
jack
husband
of all
does
trades.
children's ministry. Yes, he is
Yeah,
big
it
time into children's
is
ministry.
so
That's
funny. Yeah,
hilarious. That's so funny.
I
yeah.
love that. And I love just seeing it feels like it's the same Candyland board, just like a few different steps on the board. But it's still the
Yes.
same journey. It's the same path.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
Same
so
similar challenges too, which is really
Oh,
interesting.
yeah.
yeah, so speaking of challenges, if you could identify, we're going to start with challenge so that we can end on like some of the wins and the joys and the beautiful things. What is something that's been really hard or something that you guys have really had to work through within business with your husband?
Angela, do you want me to start that one? I
Yeah.
can start
Yeah.
it.
Go for
Okay.
it.
I think the biggest thing with our company, with Precision Event Group, when we were coming up with the idea for it, my husband was like, this is the name because you're so precise. You deliver excellence at your events, and everything that you do is just so detailed, and this, and this. That is so encouraging and so great. The problem that we run into though is I have done this for 14 years. This I know like the back of my own hand. I can do it quickly and easily. Hardest part for me is taking that exclusive leadership role and not bringing my husband into it.
Mm.
And thinking, yes, I can do it. Absolutely. But trying to find that navigation and that partnership and that balance. Same thing for him. I don't want ever him to feel like, oh, it's an assistant role because it's just like me coming into finance. I wouldn't know anything, but it'd be a partnership, but he's obviously the expert with it. Same thing with events and management and budgets and, decor, trying to find that balance and not getting bogged down, especially like our fall is crazy. We've got so many events coming up. We're running 8 different events right now. And me not getting into the silo mindset of, okay, I can do all of this and not looping him into it. That's the biggest challenge that I found. And I don't want to lessen his role. Just for the sake of ease, I think is the easiest way to describe it.
Mm.
And realizing that I compliment him, he compliments me. And like for events, I have my areas of expertise, but there's things that I am not good at as far as like the back end stuff and certain other things that he is exceptional at. So just trying to find that balance, but also neither one of us getting, I know how to do this, I'm going to shut you out. You know how to do this, you shut me out. And really constantly talking and working together. One thing that we've done that's really encouraging that has helped with that is have a dedicated work night to where, he's working during the day. I'm managing, taking care of Everly, taking care of the household, taking care of, stuff with the business. And then we get to work at night. So trying to find that balance and that mix is really good because, we're still new. We're still growing the company. So
I have so many thoughts, Lauren. I don't know what time your babysitter's done tonight.
we've
Podcast
got her all
listeners
night.
and
This is great. It's planned.
I was like podcast listeners. Lauren and I, before we started recording, figured out that we're going to
Yes.
the same play tonight.
Yes.
Anyway, so that's funny. The oh golly, I have so many words because we share a faith perspective.
Yeah.
Then there's really, when you have the female leadership and you have the Christian subculture that we're part of, and there's
Right.
this language around that, and just kind of recognizing that and understanding it,
Yeah.
it just creates some interesting mental challenges.
Dynamics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dynamics. There you go.
There you go.
I would say, and hopefully this is kind of encouraging to you, Lauren, because what I was going to say is my challenge is a different take on what your challenge is. But we did not have the benefit of 14 years in a career before we started this business. My husband went to work for the company that we bought while he was in college. So we're 26-year-old kids with 2 kids and a 1/3 on the way, buying a business that was existing, that had contracts, and that we were responsible for. We just didn't know. Who cares? We'll eat some more macaroni and
You've
cheese.
said before that you were too young to know it was a dumb idea to be doing this thing.
Oh
And
yeah, for sure. The confidence of youth. Oh, how I miss it. now I'm like
The boldness.
I'm like the risk management nerd, right? Like I'm the one going, but please don't stand on that chair. And they're like, wait a minute, you're like the risky. And I'm like, I know, but man, I've seen how bad it can go. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
So what I would say is that when we bought the business, my husband was the product. He thought that was what he thought of himself because he wrote the software. And so I did sales training and implementation. So I was out there I would learn your business. I would design the software. I would make sure that your processes are automated, but somehow that was not necessarily valued like the person who actually coded it. I can now say, because we went to therapy and we worked through that. But it was like, we got to a point where I took a break from the business to be with the kids, and he was like, I made sales look easy. And so all of a sudden he's like in charge of sales and everything for 2 years. And he was like, oh crap, I didn't realize he actually learned to value me at that point.
Mm,
And so then I came back and I started our marketing agency, which is, I was the primary service provider at that point. And it was a very hard transition because he had been like, he had his own identity stuff. I had my own identity stuff going on with all of that. And I was trying to, we were trying to run two companies and we were trying to
mm,
be like dual presidents. And so if we
mm.
had an, if we had an idea and we didn't agree on it, we didn't do anything, which drove me crazy. And so, what I say now is the probably biggest key to success, just kind of jump forward 15 years, um, wandering off, wandering back, wandering off. But is that about 2 years ago, we came to the point where we were like, I was like, I can't do this anymore. So either you can sell me your half of the business and go get a job,
Mm,
or we can act like you sold me your half of the business and I get to be the CEO.
mm.
And no longer are we doing co-president. It has not worked. 23 years. It is the biggest source of conflict we have had. Drives me absolutely crazy. Now it's hard for him because I'm not in the day-to-day operations.
Mm.
And so sometimes it gets crazy because it's like, how do you get to make this final decision when you're not even here every day? And I'm like, because I don't need to be. I own the business. I'm the
Right,
CEO. I don't have to be the primary service provider anymore. I've
right.
set up systems and operations and team and all of those things. And I'm not saying it's the perfect model or it's the best model. It's what's working for us, but that
Yeah.
clear delineation. And interestingly, in our family business forum and in a lot of the training that we do for family businesses, one of the things we talk about specifically is clear role definitions and
Yes.
understanding
Yes.
who is. And so doing that in a way that doesn't make somebody feel, one person feel like the assistant and the other
Mm,
for, like, but there has to be a final say so
right.
when there is a two people um together, someone has to have 51%. Like,
Yeah.
not every single decision can you get to a point of um everybody is
In complete
compromise.
agreement. Right.
Sometimes you, I mean, you do have to get to compromise, but
Right.
I'm working with a client now and they're not related, but they've worked together long enough, they're related, and
Mm,
we finally are identifying in these areas this person gets the final decision,
I
and
love
in
that.
these areas, in design and HR and these, this person gets the final decision. And so they
That's
didn't do it as like global because they definitely have different strengths and different
right.
weaknesses. And so they broke it down by like area of the
I
business.
love that.
Yeah. So that way it's like, okay, when it comes, maybe for you guys, it might be for
Yeah.
the finance area, like at final decision, if we don't agree, you get the
He goes
decision
to,
making. But if
yeah.
it's like how an event is managed, then final
Yeah.
decision, I get the. Anyway, that would be the thing I would tell people. I
Mm.
used to joke, people would say, oh my gosh, you should write a book about how to work with your husband. And I said, oh my gosh, ready? Here you go. Page one, don't do it. Page two, the end. Like, I'm done. And so the last couple of years, now that we're like focused on family business, I've struggled with it. I've fought it a little bit. And I think it's because, I mean, I'm open with my story. Both my books, I'm very open with my childhood stories. I'm very open with
Mm.
my own weaknesses, and our shared story like feels real raw still in some ways. And it
Mm.
feels, we haven't navigated yet how people that listen to the podcast, what, you share y'all stories all the time. And I'm like, yeah, the deeper wounds, the ones that like had to have hospitalization and the bones set, so to speak, those
Oh
deeper
gosh.
wounds,
Yeah.
it's been scary to have to, I don't, it's scary to share those stories.
Yeah. It's hard to be
um
vulnerable in areas that are very, I
very
even
sensitive.
honestly say kind of still healing. I
Yeah.
say scars on life are not really scars because you're always healing. You're always in that reminder.
Hmm.
Um, I can relate with that. I
Yeah.
totally get it, especially with, certain things from childhood, certain things.
Yeah.
You live with a chronic illness. So I don't think I shared it. I have type 1 diabetes. I was diagnosed when I was 3.
Yeah.
And that was also a really big point to why I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, because I was under the impression I could never have kids, just with
Hmm.
how I just what I understood,
Mhm.
and having it for so long. So I get that, and you always grow, but it makes you who you are. It's
Yeah.
not where you still are at, but the
Yeah.
scars of your past are never fully healed, because you're constantly growing and they constantly get smaller, but I don't think they ever go away. And I think it
Mhm.
still works with each day, and that helps drive what you do in each day, what I've seen.
Yeah, I prefer scars over scabs.
Yeah.
Because I think there's some people that kind of sort of pick at it, and I always use
Mm,
this one because I this scar will never go away, and I have some great stories from those scars. But when it's at a point, and I could pick at this for days, and it would never. It's not going to bleed, but there are other ones that will
mm,
anyway. So I like to get to the point of scars, and I like the lessons that you can learn and then how
yeah,
you can help them apply those. Absolutely.
that's great. Yeah.
I think that's
Okay.
so great. Thank you guys for sharing and for just kind of opening up. I know that kind of as you both said, like sometimes it can be a little bit scary to share some of those things. And I appreciate even just sort of like the peek into the window to see that it's not always just happy go lucky and easy. And, it's not romantic always working with your spouse. I would say that that's probably, at different times where you have to balance the romance and then the business and different things like that. Angela, I think one of my favorite stories, even of the non-romance, was you guys were chatting with each other, a fight because there was an employee in the room, and the employee was like, "I can hear you guys typing angrily. Like I know that you're fighting because you're typing angrily." So on the flip side, there are also some beautiful moments, and there's also opportunities that I think people have when you work with your spouse and with your family that you don't always get corporate or you don't get in other scenarios. What are some of the just things that you guys love about it that you're like, you know what? Yes, it's hard, and these things are amazing. Lauren, you
I
want to go
think for
first?
us, yeah, I'm happy to go first. I think for us, especially when leading up into an event, it's that stressful time, because it's like he's in this mode, I'm in this mode, we're trying to get it done. Angela, kind of like what you were saying, you have your roles, I have mine. We don't really cross on them because we just need to get it done, and that's going to keep continuity and that good balance. But my personal favorite thing is, say there's a hard thing, or say you're trying to get a client, or say you face some type of rejection or some trial. It is so encouraging to know that EJ and I have each other. So like if he says that he calls me his little avocado, because I bruise so easily and I can get so upset so easily on stuff. He's like, "You're my little peach avocado." And I love it because it's true. Like I have a tough exterior, but I'm mushy on the inside. And I can't describe how joyful I am to know that no matter what, at the end of the day, no matter what happens, any discouragement or frustration or fear, that I can turn to him and know that I'm okay, and I just have a peace and I have a comfort, because he makes me feel so safe and he makes me feel so loved
Mm,
and
mm,
so incredibly encouraging. He always encourages, he's like, "You don't need me, you can do this." And what he doesn't realize is I can't do anything without him.
Mm.
And our relationship is solid and based around the Lord. And that is one of the greatest things, that also we, can pray together. We can support each other whenever, all throughout the day, during the event. And with working with everyone else, we've got a few other great people on our team that are just exceptional, and we adore everyone on the team to make that day of execution happen for our clients. But to be able to do that with your best friend, and just to have that bond, we also know each other's things. So if he sees I'm starting to get stressed, he knows what to do to bring me down, and vice versa. And that is something that I did not ever have in corporate America and in nonprofit world. And it's such a relief that all of the struggles and the trials that come with, working with your spouse or working with family or working with any one in your lineage of any type, there's that suite that that they've got your back no matter what, and you're going to weather this together. So I love
I
that.
remember during my corporate time, somebody once gave me the career advice. They were like, no one is going to advocate for you and your career. So you always have to be there for yourself. And I remember taking that and being like,
Mm,
okay, yeah, like I've got to advocate for myself. And now what's so interesting is that it's like, actually, it's not true anymore because even me and my family business, I have multiple people advocating for my career. And my parents are out here. It's not my husband, but my parents, I mean, my husband advocates for me too. That's not the point. Anyway,
yeah.
making sure that I'm investing in myself, making sure that I like thinking about what is my long term career plan. We're not making decisions just based on what's good for
Mm,
Angela or just what's good for Sami, but it's what's good for all of us. And that's so beautiful that you don't have to be there alone, and you're what might be true in corporate
yeah,
that you are your best advocate, probably actually not as true in family business because you have other people who love you and support you so much. You're not in it alone. That's wonderful.
absolutely.
Angela, what about you? What are some wins?
I would say that flexibility is my favorite thing. So my husband, his parents divorced when he was young, and his dad lived 3, 4 hours away. And so didn't have, and his dad owned a business and didn't prioritize going to kids events, and quite frankly lots of people didn't back then. It wasn't a thing, but anyway, didn't have. I say that, but his mom and stepdad did. Like, we're at every soccer game or every football and swim meet, so it was hit or miss. So anyway, he really, really, really was so important for him to be a good dad. I lived with my aunt and uncle when I was growing up, and my uncle had a diesel mechanic business, and if he was out on a call and Aunt Mary had to go to pick somebody up, I was at 10 years old answering the business phone. And so, like, we wanted to do Girl Scouts one year, and my Aunt Mary's like, you can't do Girl Scouts because if Uncle Jim is out on a call and then we didn't, I don't know why you couldn't leave a message. Well, a truck driver is broken down. If they can't get a hold of you, then they're going to call the next person. And so Aunt Mary's like, I can't leave the house for 15 minutes to come pick you up from Girl Scouts. So no, you can't do it. And we
Mm,
chose to have our business because of our children, similar to what
mm,
you're saying. Like,
yeah.
we wanted to be there for our kids. And I don't know that my husband, unless we were traveling, missed a soccer game,
Mm,
very rarely missed a soccer practice. Like, I think if he missed a soccer game, it was because I went to one state and he went to the other state. I was in Kansas City and he's over in
Well,
Tulsa
like
or
you're with
Memphis or
Kansas City
whatever.
with one of the kids, and he's with
With
the
one
other.
of the
and
kids,
then one of
yes.
the other,
Yeah,
yeah,
we were traveling to
tag
opposite
team it.
soccer. Yeah, but we had two in competitive soccer for a couple of
Wow.
years. Well, three one
Yes.
year because we had an exchange student that also was in on a different team. So
Oh my goodness.
we had a lot of fun. So but besides that, besides just logistics, because he couldn't be there, we very much prioritized our kids. Now, didn't have the same kind of parent wound. I didn't have parents worth, I lived in 4 different families. So besides my aunt and
Mm,
uncle, it was fine. So it worked really well for
I
us
like how you're
because
just trying to like
I,
breeze past this. Like I didn't have parents. I mean, like it's fine. It's whatever. The
I mean,
headline,
I didn't have the same parent wounds.
if you haven't listened to other episodes and heard Angela's stories, the headline takeaway is that because she didn't have to live in the same dysfunctional family for 18 years, she got to be free from the same kinds of trauma over and over again, which is why she says it can be a benefit and it's fine. There's other episodes to talk about it, but I just want to, you're like, whatever, no big deal. Hold on. I
I
would like
know.
to pause and acknowledge.
And yeah, okay. And in one of my
acknowledge
upcoming
what's
book,
happening. Yeah.
I try not to speak out loud, but I will have another book in the next couple of years, and it will talk about abandonment. And I will be talking a whole lot about how I didn't need to be there every day for my kids because I didn't even understand how to attach to my children, for goodness sakes.
Mm,
But
Mm.
whatever. Anyway, so we were active. I was a Girl Scout leader for 5 years. We were very active in their lives. And we had a business so that we could be
Mm,
active parents.
yeah.
That means that we didn't do the startup realm. We didn't scale our business. We didn't have we've never had humongous revenue. We've always run a lifestyle business. We've done well. We've traveled. My kids are very well traveled. And so all of those opportunities that we could offer to our kids, it looks very different, but the fact that we were both united in that, making sure that our children had very different childhoods than we
Mm,
did, and I think so many people are like, oh, my business gets in the way of my family, and we
mm,
just like said no. And it was
yeah.
nice to be united on that front. It's also other flexibility wins are like, um you're not fully responsible for childcare, so you can tag team based on business requirements, like who's got a deadline today that needs to be with the kids. And even to the point that Sami, one day, we needed her to do like a new client meeting or something, and she's like, hey, kid's sick. And I'm like, well, grandpa has a lot more flexibility in his schedule, so he gonna be taking care of the sick grandchild so that I can have you on this new client meeting, because it'll be harder to fill in that. And so I think that kind of flexibility with
Yeah.
the whole thing is what my favorite thing about being in
Yes.
family business is.
I I love that, and I totally agree. I mean, absolutely, and that's family's first too, and that honestly drives success too within your business. So I
100%.
completely get it.
I think that that's
Agree.
wonderful. Also, I think that we've now made it a touch more complicated, Angela, that we make up just under 50% of the business. So when we go on a full family vacation, not just like me and my kids or you guys, it's like the whole company kind of shuts down for a week or two. Not exactly
Yeah.
like we're able to still run some things, but it is a little bit tricky when, you know, 3 of 8 people leave for a
Oh,
week. So
I didn't
that
think about
we're
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
we're still working out
We're
that
still
this is the first
navigating.
year that we've had to do that. Not had to, that we've chosen to do that. And so still working on how to make that happen. So there had to be a
We
few
survived
moments
it.
where we were like just double checking email, making sure that nothing was on fire and
Yes.
things like that. A little, you know, not quite as disconnected, but it it all worked out. It was great. Thank you
Good.
guys
Yeah.
so
Oh,
much
fun.
for this whole conversation. Lauren, do you have any like last thoughts or encouragement you'd want to leave people with today?
I would think honestly the biggest thing is when you're going into business in and of itself, it's incredibly scary. When you're going into business with your family or your spouse, it's extraordinarily scary. And then when you add in everything else of, depending on the nature of your business and, economy and everything else, it takes a lot. But my biggest thing is just like whenever I was sitting in the NICU holding Everly, since she was born 2 months premature, um, and sitting up there and feeling, don't ever get to the point where you feel like there's no other option and that, oh, I can't do this. My opinion is if you have the passion, if you have the drive, and if you have the support, you can do anything. And don't let, it sounds so corny, but I'm talking my age here. I always love this quote that I heard in a movie, The Cinderella Story. I loved it. I was a Hilary Duff fan.
Mhm.
Chad Michael-Murray is my jam. The quote that her dad told her is something that I've always had in the back of my head, especially as a person living with type 1 diabetes. And it's, don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game. And
I
if
knew
we
what it
have
was
that
gonna
mindset,
be.
you knew what it was going to be. I love it. And I'm also a massive Gilmore Girls fan. If you see anything
Oh,
behind me, I've got all my anatomy apparatus. And what Richard said to Rory, what he said to Emily whenever Rory was venturing out and going against everything that she was supposed to be doing and what societal expectations were and everything else, is what she tackles, she conquers. And
mm,
those are two really big things that, EJ and I were sitting in that NICU and just kind of talking. Don't let anything hold you back. If you have the
mm,
passion, if you have the drive, you can be successful. And especially if you've got the loving support of a wonderful, wonderful parents, wonderful family, wonderful husband, wonderful wife, you know, encourage you. You can do it. And you might have some challenges that you're going to face. Everyone has challenges. We have challenges and triumphs and everything that we do. But like Cinderella's story, don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game. And you'll be happy and you'll be grateful in the long run. And, you'll look back years from now, Angela, like you're, you know, 15 years past at this point and you've been doing it and you're so happy and you're successful and you've got a great story and a great journey. I hope I'm like you guys, 15 years from now and have Everly working in the family business. And we call her the chief cuteness officer because she's the one keeping us all in charge. But I hope and I'm encouraged by y'all's story. So that's my biggest thing. If anyone's considering it or you just started out or you're a veteran like you guys, just keep focusing. Don't be fearful and just take the leap.
Mm, that's a
That's
beautiful place
awesome.
to end this on. Angela, other thoughts? Nope. Okay, sorry. You
Oh,
still
I
flick
was
your hand.
just gonna just want a moment of encouragement. If you don't have supportive family, find some
Oh,
chosen family that is going to be your support system. um, Whatever that looks like. They may be online, they may be local. Find your chosen family that if you don't
mm,
have support, and if you have struck out and you have failed in family business, meaning that you tried and it didn't work, and you had to like close your business or you went bankrupt, like that doesn't mean fatal failure. Sometimes it isn't for everyone. And if it wasn't for you and you end up back in a job, that's okay too. Like, just enjoy your journey and enjoy your path and be encouraged that that may not have been the right business for you, and you may, if you try it one more time, it might work out, and it might not, and I bet you learned some lessons that are still helping you today. So just for those that didn't have the beautiful story, we love you too.
Mm, wonderful. Thank you guys so much. And thank you for sharing your stories about working with your husbands. This is wonderful. If you guys are not already getting our newsletter, go to our website, Be Freaking Awesome. That's the letter B, no E, freakingawesome.com. You can sign up to get our newsletter there. We love to hear from you guys. We love to get to share just some extra behind the scenes tidbits and different things like that. For now, we hope you guys go be freaking awesome.